Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the DraftSeal number DS555HA. This is a heavy-duty half threshold, they call it. This might be called more appropriately a half saddle if this was not modified, cut down on the edge to be a half of a threshold. It would be a saddle threshold. So when it's cut in half like this, or is the same profile as a half saddle, they'll call it a half saddle, or an offset threshold in the sense that it's intended to generally allow you to navigate between two uneven floor surfaces, okay? And that's exactly what this is. This is going to be 5-inch wide and then half-inch overall height, and that will permit you to navigate. Where would you use this? Well, very commonly, you walk into the gas station, concrete sill outside, you've got tile on the inside, about a half-inch. Be a great option for that sort of application. Anywhere where you need to transition between two disparate floor surfaces is where you're going to see this. We'll see these used in concrete pads, in condo buildings where you've got an uneven floor surface. You know, situations like that, stair towers where, you know, floors just don't line up correctly and they need to be transitioned correctly. Completely handicap compliant. For a couple of reasons, this would be handicap compliant. First of all, let's take some dimensional properties. Half by 5. So the width is 5-inch, and they literally cut this from a larger piece, which, you know, I don't like to see. It doesn't matter because you're obviously butting this up to something. The truth of the matter is it tells me that they don't stock this as a half saddle extrusion, which, you know, I suppose means if they're going to cut it to anything, you want it 3 3/4. We'll tell them to cut it to 3 3/4. It shouldn't really matter. Half-inch overall height, and that is handicap compliant. Half-inch overall height. That was not the case once upon a time with thresholds, but that once upon a time when it was initially passed in 1991, the A117 code. Let's dive into that a little bit deeper. So on the manufacturer's page that we can click to right here, or at least currently, there will be a link to A117. You pull that document up, or having access to it, accessible and usable buildings and facilities, A117.1. So poke around and just search for the word threshold, and you're sure, you know, you're going to find it. Lots of instances of the word threshold. In 404.2.4, that paragraph, if provided, thresholds at doorways shall be 1/2 of an inch maximum in height. Raised thresholds and changes in level at doorways shall comply with sections 302 and 303. Okay, so half-inch is copacetic. We know that we're good. But what does this all mean here? Well, let's get to section 302. Just do a find function on your keyboard for 302 and 303, and you're going to get to the rest of the definition. Now, why is half-inch is acceptable? Except that you must, when you exceed a 1/2 of an inch in height, and when you exceed a 1/4 inch in height, you must comply with 302 and 303 changes in level, which is basically defined here. For every rise, you have to have a run of double, which means the leading edge of this threshold is certainly compliant with that rise of one and run of 2. So this is only compliant because of this angle, or that relationship of rise over run. You can have a 1/4 inch thick plate that can be just square edged, but if you have something that is over a 1/4 and up to a 1/2 of an inch, it must be compliant with section 302 and 303. So 303 tells us beveled changes in level. Okay, you can have a 1/4 inch rise, but you got to do this. Okay, And that's a real easy way to be able to see. Now, the rest of this document is, of course, incredibly helpful when it comes to an overall sense of the title of the document, accessible and usable buildings and facilities. It's a guide to everything. If you want to find out how many parking spaces are required for handicap compliance, it's all in here. And another thing that's really popular, of course, or common, I should say, in our industry of commercial building hardware will be the relationship of accessories and restrooms. So we get into the grab bar section in section 609, I believe it said. You're going to see all the heights. So really helpful document of everything there. Let's get back to what this threshold's all about. Okay, so this item is listed in the site in different lengths. DraftSeal is a bit less flexible in a certain sense. This is only listed in 3 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, and 12 foot. Okay, those are the options. They will occasionally entertain cutting something in half, but if you needed 12 foot, we've got 6 foot pieces. If you needed 9 foot, which is too long to ship economically, there are 6 foot pieces or 4 foot pieces, whatever the case might be. So they're accommodating in that request. But be mindful, if you needed a single piece longer than typically 6 foot or so, 9 foot and then 12 foot, it's noticeably expensive to ship those because of the length and how that is surcharged by the carriers. But nonetheless, that's what it is. So this threshold is obviously made aluminum in a mill finish. There is a link below this video to a document called Product Catalog. Let's look at the one called Cut Sheet first. And Cut Sheet is nothing really new there to review in terms of its dimensional properties. And you'll notice the comment, barrier-free, ADA compliant if used as shown. And without saying it, if this is going to butt up to a 1/2 of an inch, floor surface, that being flush along with this allows you to comply. Now, looking at the document that is titled Product Catalog, that will just simply show you the other sizes available of this item in half saddles, 4-inch, 5-inch, 6 and 7-inch. Like I said earlier, if they're cutting it, and you wanted something odd in terms of the width, I would see no problem requesting that, because the logic is they're literally cutting it anyway. They are accommodating, and it won't hurt to ask, and we'll be happy to ask. Or it's aluminum. You can rip it yourself, table saw, carbide blade, and that would make it no trouble at all. We'll include fasteners and some anchors. Looks like they're number 10 by about at least 1.5 inches. Flathead wood screws with plastic anchors. Okay, we'll get you going there. In that product catalog, I see only a reference to mill finish. No other colors, no dark bronze, no gold. It's just going to be mill finish. So it's a very handy threshold, very common threshold in the sense of being half saddle. The 5-inch width would be really compatible with that gas station analogy earlier, because you're going to have a 4 9/16 aluminum storefront most likely. A 5-inch might be nice because you can cope it around the frame, or maybe run it a little bit long in front of the frame itself. Maybe order a 40-inch piece and cope it and let it run completely long, however you might do that. And then finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the DraftSeal products that we sell, but the link to their commercial product catalog, their residential product catalog, and their website. They have an offering of residential weather stripping that no one else has. If you're looking for a piece of residential weather stripping that you have not been able to find, I would go to their catalog. They don't have everything naturally, but they do have everything that DraftSeal makes naturally. And you'll find solutions there that you will say, that is perfect for my job. And no one else even offers it, nothing even close. The downside with that is the length. They're generally going to be looking at 12-foot lengths. And again, they have accommodated in the past requests to cut that down. And the reason to cut it down is to save on shipping charges. Then there's the commercial catalog, and that will show you thresholds like this, your saddle thresholds, obviously your half saddles. And we'll get into a full complement of the different profiles of thresholds. Thermal break thresholds are listed in there as well. Bump up style, extremely wide thresholds they can do. I see a 14-inch saddle threshold here, and a quarter-inch and a half-inch height. Automatic door bottoms they get into, door sweeps they get into, perimeter gasketing and drip caps. So in the sense of DraftSeal being a comprehensive provider of weather stripping, yes, indeed they are. A very broad availability of commercial and a very broad, unique availability of residential material. So I would encourage you to review that. If you have any questions on the DraftSeal, this is their part number DS555HA. This happens to be a 3-foot piece. There are generally one more hole punched and dimpled in the threshold than it is in length. So if you've got a 3-foot piece, there ought to be 4 holes. It's a general rule of thumb. It's not always followed, but that's a general rule of thumb. Any questions on the DraftSeal DS555HA or any other DraftSeal product? Please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.